about we do an experiment together? I would like to see how far can I go, and let's see if this still responds. Sorry, Martin. Just not to block the slides. Thank you. This is Forrest. Forrest Gump. By show of hands, how many of you have ever watched this movie several times? Great. This is almost every single one here. If you remember, there was a very famous line Forrest used to mention in this movie, including life and chocolates. Was it? Life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get. Or he used to say, life without chocolate is no life at all. Which one? So please raise your hand if you remember that the line was, my mom always said, life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get. So you do agree with me that that was the line. Great. What if I tell you that Forrest Gump never said life is like a box of chocolates? When I first learned about this, that was my reaction. So let's hear from Forrest himself. What did he really say?
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Well, now it's life was and no longer life is. What's happening here? Ladies and gentlemen, this is only one example out of many examples of the Mandela effect. And for those of you who've never heard about the Mandela effect, it's basically when you remember an event or an experience that is slightly changed from what happened in real life. This happened in 2013 when Nelson Mandela died. And hundreds of thousands of people over the internet remembered vivid details of his funeral, mid-80s, while still in prison. But wait a minute here, is that even Nelson Mandela? This is not Nelson Mandela, this is an American actor, Morgan Freeman, who indeed played Nelson Mandela in one of his movies. And in 2013, he got really annoyed and pissed off because people confused him with Nelson Mandela and they thought that he was the one who died. Back then, he had a very intense tweet on his private Twitter account. This is the real Nelson Mandela, also known as Madiba, or the respected father in South African. He did die in 2013. He actually died on 5th of December, so exactly 4 years ago, not mid-80s. Before I explain the Mandela effect to you, I'd like to give you another example. And this example comes from Star Wars. So just remember this, because in 2 weeks you will have the last episode or the last sequel in this cinema. So for those of you who have never watched Star Wars, I'm about to reveal something very important here. So please excuse me, the movie has been released 40 years ago. So the fact that you've never watched it, it's your own problem, not mine. There was a very famous line or an encounter between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker when he used his very famous voice, telling Luke Skywalker, Luke, I am your father.
That's not the line.
Okay, I'm glad that some people know that this is not the line. So what if I told you that Darth Vader never said Luke? So let's hear from Darth Vader himself what was the real original line.
No, I am your father.
Say what?
So, a lot of people are saying that the Mandela effect is maybe a government conspiracy, or aliens are trying to do so. But being a memory researcher myself, I'm having a PhD and studying memory for life, I like to explain the Mandela effect as nothing less than creating a false memory or a distorted memory. So basically, we slightly change our memories to something that never happened. And there are so many explanations or reasons why this happens. So from the first example, it's simply a source confusion. So the line, life is like a box of chocolates, and life was like a box of chocolates, both were in the movie. But we misattribute the line to Forrest Gump when he never said it, while the person who said that was his mother. Let's remember together.
Life is a box of chocolates, Forrest. You never know what you're gonna get.
So this is the first reason how can we slightly distort or change our memories. Source confusion, or misattribution. The second one is from the second example. It's based on suggestibility and bias. Sometimes we experience something through our own eyes, but then from the influence of the outer world, from the media, from our neighbors, from our siblings, from our colleagues, they start giving us details to slightly change our memory of this experience. And this is basically the influence of the outer world on our own memories. So basically it was, no, I am your father, but then it turned into, Luke, I am your father, because reality is far too boring, because it's no fun to put on a t-shirt, no, I am your father, or as a screensaver, so they turned it like this. But if we remember the whole scene, it's much more logical, that is, no, I am your father. Let's remember.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
Actually, this is very dangerous, the influence of the outer world. And to study the influence in the lab, we bring actually some volunteers to the lab and we show them some clips of cars hitting each other. And they take notes, and then after that we question them. Tell us, for example, what was the speed of the cars when they hit each other. They give us a specific speed. But then when we influence the questions by changing the verb to slightly more intense verb, like what was the speed of the cars when they smashed into each other or crashed into each other, they start giving us higher speeds and even adding more details that were never there, that people were bleeding and seeing shards of glass everywhere. The last Mandela effect example I would give you is from Queen. Not this Queen, that Queen. We all memorize the lyrics of "We Are the Champion." And at the very bottom they say, "No time for losers, because we are the champions of the world." What if I told you that Queen never said "of the world"? So let's hear from Queen themselves. What did they really say?
We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions. Of the world.
Does he not do an of the world? I always thought he did an of the world, doesn't he?
It's really rough, man.
So the original production in 1977, it was never there. Someone added it, and then later on they started singing it. Even this meme, "What if I told you," the one that I've been using throughout my whole presentation, Morpheus never said that. You can check the 3 sequels. He never said that in The Matrix. So next time when someone tells you, trust no one but your own memory, maybe you need to think twice after listening to this presentation. What if I told you, Dieu que m'aime?